Hello, my name is Mariah Smith, and I recorded a video for dividing decimals. My learning goal for the students were that students will be able to divide by decimals using the standard algorithm and the strategy I gave them that day, which was basically multiplying both the divisor and the dividend by 10 to make the decimals, the whole entire decimal whole, before before moving on to finding their answer, essentially. Um, I completed an error analysis for my exit ticket, which was my formative assessment. And on the assessment, the kids had a couple of questions to answer, uh, which stated whether or not, so the way I did this was basically I had completed a division problem incorrectly, gave them the wrong answer, and I wanted them to kind of comb through my steps and figure out where I made this mistake, why I would have made this mistake, and if they had made the same mistake before. I had made a subtraction kind of error, which I had seen a lot of the kids do before, so I thought it was a really good way to go. And a lot of them were really good at pointing that out and telling me, yeah, you made a subtraction error. So that was great. So in terms of if they reached it, okay, so I was able to see my idea of them reaching the learning goal would be to tell me all the errors that I made within the problem. And then one of the questions on the exit ticket was, okay, how can you fix it? And so if the student was able to fix my problem and get the right answer, I knew they understood what was going on and how to complete division by decimals using the standard algorithm basically completely. I had a handful of students that were able to do that. And then I had a couple students that told me, like, I know it's wrong, but I don't know where you went wrong. So I consider that a mini success. It wasn't fully a good success, but it was, they knew that the problem was wrong, basically, and that was one of the goals. So yeah, the way I know that the students met their goal was if they were able to fix the problem, if they were able to tell me what was wrong with the problem, and also if they were able to kind of give me another strategy to do the problem. That might be easier for the student. And like I said, a handful of them were able to do it. And then there was like another 3 or 4 that were able to let me know, okay, I know you're wrong, I just don't know where, or I know you're wrong, I know where, which is subtraction, but I don't know how to fix it. So yeah. However, the rest of the class, I think they were a little bit iffy on the strategy. I think this is because it was just different for them. So multiplying by 10 using place value for the divisor was just something that seemed, I think, off when they could have just kind of divided. So I think that kind of confused them a little bit, and I think the next time I run through another lesson, maybe I'll kind of emphasize why we're kind of multiplying by 10 or making all these different steps before I go into the problem. However, I think that I did go over that pretty well, but maybe I should have kind of emphasized it every single time I kind of showed them a problem and when I helped them do the problem, because I could see where they were kind of getting confused during their group assignment. When they were working with their groups, I got a lot of questions or I saw like a lot of error where they were like multiplying by the wrong 10, multiple of 10. So like you can multiply depending on the place value. So if I had 3 wholes and 68 hundredths, I would multiply by 100, right? Because it's in the last digit is in the hundredths place. So a lot of the kids were kind of confusing that idea and not really sure which value of 10 to multiply. And so maybe I would do a review where I would kind of review the place value. Okay, like this is where this number is, this is where the next number is, this is where the next number is, and then tell them how this correlates to the values of 10 and how that affects my overall answer. But yeah, I think the kids did okay. I would say if on a like grade scale from 0 to 100, I'd probably give them like 40%, because that's about how many kids passed the assessment. But I think with further review, like if I were to have done a review the next day, kind of using a lot of the same practices, I think most of them would have gotten it, because a lot of them were just right on kind of like the cusp, but couldn't really like grasp the concept, I guess. So I think after a review and maybe a couple small groups where I help kids that are maybe struggling or need more support, I think they would have gotten it just fine. But yeah, thank you.